It's the 19th of September, and the Lord has opened the scroll of the rapture to me, of it not being a physical event, but rather a spiritual type of event. And as I was decoding all of these things and decoding the scroll, he said to me, Daniel, for this truth is only for those who are willing to submit themselves to the word and to seek them out. And I said to the Lord, as I was busy trying to make the video and set all the scriptures together, he said to me, and it's just as if he was contesting me. And I came to sit and just sit in the sun and have peace. Then he said, Daniel, is it not better to ask the Lord your God questions than to sit at the feet of men looking for the answers from their mouth? So the questions I'm about to ask you in order to guide you to the truth of what will happen. But first the Lord brought me to Leviticus 24. And it says, Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, commanding the children of Israel that they bring to you pure oil of pressed olives for the light to make the lamps burn continually. Okay? So the Lord has been speaking about the oil. How important is the oil that we have in our lamps as the 10 virgins, the 5 wise virgins, and having our oil ready. Okay? And I want to ask you a few questions in order to lead you to discover this truth of the 144, of the Melchizedekian order, the ones that are chosen for the first reaping, for the first harvest. Okay? First, I want to ask you, why did the 10 virgins all fall asleep? There was 5 virgins that fell asleep as well with the 10 the first time, but the first 5 had oil. So why did they fall asleep? That would be your first question for this hunt of what will happen on 23, 24 and 25. Your second question would be, if you go and look in Kings, I think it's 1 Kings or 2 Kings, why is it that Elijah goes and tells this man, surely you will die because you inquired from Baal? And then that king sends him 50 soldiers, and fire strikes down those soldiers. Sends him another 50. He strikes down those soldiers, and he sends them another 50. So 3 groups. And the last group was not struck down. He asked mercy, and he said, please have mercy on me. And Elijah says, there is mercy. Then we go to Elijah and Elisha, and this is a very important one. Ask yourself this question. The sons of the prophets, and it means like the council of prophets, comes to Elisha, and they say to Elisha, do you know that your master is going up? And he says, I know that, keep quiet. The first time. They go to another city. They do exactly the same thing. The masters, the sons of the prophet, comes to them, and he says, do you know your master is going up? And he says, I know. Leave me be. He says it a third time. He says, leave me be. Okay? There are 3 cities they go to, like the 350-50-50. There are 3 cities that they go to. Look at the order of those cities. It's very important. Look at the order of those cities. Bethel, and then I think it's Jericho, and then lastly it's Jordan. Oh no, sorry, it's Bethel, Jordan, Jericho. That order. Go and look what the names are for those 3 places. What does it mean? Bethel, house of house of God. So Elijah, before going up, he prepared himself by first going to the house of God. Okay? So they had to go through these three things. And then what did Elijah do? He struck the water, and then it opened, and they went through the water. And notice who goes with him, Elisha. And then he stands by Elijah, and Elijah says, ask me something. And Elijah says, can I have your double portion? Your double portion. The harvest. Okay? The double portion of what? The Spirit. Holy, you'll be baptized in the Holy Spirit. Truth and fire. Fire. Okay? What came from the heaven to strike down that 50? Fire. Second, fire. Third, mercy. Okay? And then he says, ask yourself, why did he say, if you can see me being taken up, then you can have it. You can have my mantle, and you can have my double portion. Why, if you can see it? And why did Elisha have to head back and hit the water again and go back on dry ground? And then the 50, then there were 50 sons of the prophets that asked him, can we go search for your master? And he said no. And then those 50 went eventually to search, and they came back and we said, we cannot find your master. But they searched for him for 3 days. Who was in the grave for 3 days. Okay? How many people were on the mountain of transfiguration in Matthew 17? There were 6 people. But 3 of them were transmutated. And 3 of them were who? Chosen disciples to go up this mountain. 3. Okay. So there's importance in 3 and 50. Go and search out that importance of the 50. Another question you should ask yourself. If it says Simon, when Jesus says to Simon, he turns to Simon, and Simon's, what does his name mean? Listening, understanding, okay? Seeing. His name means those characteristics. And he says to him, Satan has come to sift you like wheat. Like wheat. But then Jesus says to him, but I have prayed for you, for the fortification of your faith, not the strengthening of your faith, the fortification of your faith. So where does your oil come from? Your oil comes from the sifting process of Satan that has come to sift Simon. But what are the characteristics of Simon? The one that sees, the one that understands and then responds. So the one that watches these videos that the government shows you of a person dying, and then he understands the deception, and then he responds to that deception. Not by his emotions, by praying for that man that they do not know. What do you think is the significance of Jericho being called the place of fragrance, where they balsam the body, where they prepare the body for death? Just like Jesus' body was prepared. So the 144 will go exactly through the same thing Jesus went. Elijah went through those processes. But then he says to Simon, Is it Simon? Yes. There's a piece where he says to Simon, because it's the place where Jesus is being delivered, right? Where he says to Simon, but after you've seen me, return to your brothers and strengthen them. Why would he say, after you've seen me? So first Satan will come and tempt you and sift you like wheat. Then you will go to the house of the Father, like Elijah went. And then you must go back to strengthen your brothers. So there are two kinds of people. The brethren and the Simons, the Elijahs. The three disciples that went up and were told to speak nothing of this. Because if you are called, you will know what I'm talking about here. If you're not called, you will not understand a word that I'm saying. So the rapture will be a combination of many things. But if you have eyes to see for the deception, if you could see the Charlie Kirk was a deception, you're on the right path. You're on the right path. Because 24, 25, 26, the governments will pull another one in order to deceive you, in order to use your own brethren against you. Okay? There was another thing that the Lord wanted to speak about. Oh, because yesterday I was sitting and the whole week I was anxious. I was frustrated. I was feeling it in my body and I was feeling so heavy. And then all of a sudden yesterday, when the Lord opened the scroll for me yesterday morning, okay, Thursday morning, the 18th of September 2025, He opened the scroll for me that morning. I was sitting from 8 till 10. I was sitting. And He opened the scroll for me. And then it's as if the anxiety went away. I was like, Lord, if you're coming, you're coming. If you're not coming, you're not coming. But I understand now what you meant when everyone was falling asleep. And He's saying, why is it the 10 virgins fell asleep? Why is it the 12 disciples fell asleep? Why is it that the 12 disciples fell asleep 3 times? Why did the 12 disciples fall asleep? Between Luke 22 and I think it's Matthew, somewhere in Matthew, I think Matthew 23 or 24, I'm not sure. Somewhere there it says, and then He found them falling asleep because of their sorrow. Because of their sorrow. Why is there sorrow? Because the sorrow is coming. When the sorrow is coming, I hope for God's sake that you have filled your lamp with oil. And that you don't have useless arguments about, you will see if the Lord does not come on 2025, then you will be very disappointed. You are going to be disappointed. Then many people are going to lose their faith. Then their faith was not strengthened by the Lord then. Because then they did not build their foundation on the Lord. Because He said to Simon, Satan has come to sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you. I have been your intercessor. And if I am your intercessor, you shall make it through. You shall make it through the darkest of night. Because the enemy shall not have your head. Just like King Saul did not have David's head, so your head shall not be in the enemy's camp. He might have chopped John the Baptist's head off, which was Elijah. But I say to you, your soul has not been lost. Your salvation has been sealed in the book of the Lamb. 144 on the meter exactly. I leave you with that.